Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I am Mark Nuttall. I have come today all the way from the Middle East. I know that there's some guys from DP World here today. I'm an executive advisor over in Dubai. I've lived over in Singapore and understand the context of global geodynamics and economical and social frameworks. I advise at board and family office level. I'm a non-executive director and I sit on various boards globally. Let's see if this thing works for a moment. Right, so global transformation in supply chain. So I'm speaking today from a geopolitical perspective, okay? So if you don't think that this directly relates to you, it actually does, because everything that the geopolitical community do trickles down globally, and every action has a reaction. So today we'll be speaking about technological advancements, geopolitical shifts, environmental challenges, and consumer expectations and what that looks like. Economic disruptions, inflation and recession matters. Over the past 4 years, especially since COVID-19, we have gone through local, regional and global recession matters on a technical basis, and that's on a global level. So what we have here is various different trickle-down activities that affect both consumer lifestyle processes and corporate bodies, and then government entities as well. Sanction laws, regulations and policies. So each individual country obviously has their own policies, their own limitations, their own emphasis on how much influence it has globally. And here in China, you have a whole heap of influence globally. And what's happened is, due to you wanting to expand out, the United States of America have placed in various sanctions in line with their respective cooperative countries such as the United Kingdom, some countries in Europe and otherwise. So you've got a lot of fractured and displaced events that are occurring that then affect the supply chain process. Environmental, social and corporate governance. Everybody always hears about the first word in that. And obviously with the Ever Given situation that occurred within the canal, there was some lack of governance, foresight, and then societal issues. This event actually shut down global shipping and had impactive repercussions globally, which inflated prices, inflated processes. And food and water security, which is becoming an ever more problematic situation in line with the environmental, social and corporate governance angle. Why have I got this up here? This is going to be one of the most key routes across the Arctic, probably opened via Russia, with some technical influence occurring through the United States of America. If these channels open up, it will change world dynamics, and it will change the speed, the velocity and the processing of how different products get to market and how quickly they can get to market as well. So technological convergence. So first we're looking at, and this is one of the mega trends that we're seeing at the moment, is artificial intelligence integration or machine learning integration with the start of quantum computing, or rather the process of evolution of quantum computing, and then blockchain intermingled into that, or rather quantum resistant blockchain intermingled into that. And where do we sit with that at the moment? Well, China has had its MegaTrends satellite, which is a quantum satellite, in orbit now since around 2016. Not many countries have got the same capability in artificial intelligence as China does at the moment. The US is trying to get there with its Quantum Initiative Act. It's a bit behind the curve on this particular process. However, as you see from this little chart, China is leading the way at the moment. AI will change the dynamic of processing and how quickly things go to market, thought processes, and quantum computing will enable that. It'll enable some form of real artificial intelligence because of the speed at which the processors can become capable of assisting with that artificial intelligence thought neural pathway process. The UAE at the moment, of which I sit, is driving an AI-driven smart city project. That's going to be in place over the next 10 to 15 years. And globally, the quantum computing and blockchain scale, as we'll come on to with finance a little bit later, will change the way in which supply chains go, are driven, are processed, and the velocity at which things can get out to the consumer market. So, geopolitical shifts and resource scarcity. Resource wars, oil and energy security, and most critically, food and water security. And as the environment changes, food and water will obviously become the most precious commodity on the planet. However, at the moment, what is supremely precious to us because of these advancements in technology are critical minerals, rare earth minerals, and things that can get technology enabled and to manufacture that technology, of which China at the moment has a dominance in. However, the US at present is increasing its domestic production, it's creating strategic alliances and significant legislation for resource scarcity as well. So it's going about its business to try and form alliances with those countries that have a similar deposit base as China. On top of that, food and water, climate resilient agriculture, i.e. smart agriculture, is becoming ever more relevant over in the United States, and advanced water management strategies as well. So in terms of that food and water security, the US at the moment are focusing and pivoting to that. And as you see on the rest of the slide here, I'll come back to the UAE because I live in it. But the floods from a few months ago certainly put pressure on the United Arab Emirates to look at its food and water security due to the fact that we had a lot of problems with those floods. With the problems that are going on at the moment in terms of conflicts, some conflicts are 5 years in process, 10 years in process, 30, 100 years, etc., dependent on what that conflict is related to. We've got the ever ongoing renewed conflict in Gaza at the moment. We've got the matter up between Russia and the Ukraine. These are consistent conflicts that have gone on for a number of years and are causing some of the other issues that relate to sanctions, and sanctions have created some of those issues. So you see how that geopolitical circle works, which comes into the sustainability and circular economy piece. Because obviously, with the sustainability piece, you've got renewable energy in the circular economy. But the circular economy, what happens there is things, as you well know from the supply chain industry, have then got to be reprocessed, repackaged, renewed to create other products. So here, China is leading in solar and wind, and I'm talking about China internally, not China, i.e. related to the rest of the world, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, places like that. But internally, you are leading in solar and wind energy investments, and comprehensive green development plans and doing extensive reforestation here. There are other discussions in relation to other countries that you might have investments in. The United States, with its Green New Deal, is just, I branched up the EU as well as one particular body. But the US, with its Green New Deal, significant renewable projects, green technologies aiming for net zero emissions by 2050. So that's kind of where you're placed at the moment, but China is leading the light in that. Say for Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is the major oil producing country, we see it down there investing in solar, wind and hydrogen energy and moving to its Saudi Green Initiative, which is promoting sustainability on that. Digital trust and cybersecurity. What I was speaking a while ago was artificial intelligence, quantum capabilities. When quantum comes along properly, i.e. on a commercial and then a mass scale, your current cryptography, i.e. things that are protecting your systems, people, places and things, will be smashed out of the water. There is nothing that can fall against that cryptum process because it can work super quickly on being able to process those algorithms to beat whatever defenses you might have in place, and that comes in terms of blockchain security as well. Because blockchain security, again, it's kind of a subpar power in relation to quantum, so quantum will protect blockchain in due course. Where are we at? The United States is leading in quantum-safe cryptographic standards, which is different to quantum computing itself, which China is leading the way in. So its defensive capability, it's starting to lead on, okay, but not necessarily the quantum process itself. You've got to remember, for your supply chain process, you will need to have specific strategical vision on how the future is going to be defined, because these are the mega trends at the moment from a geopolitical position. China is enhancing its cybersecurity with quantum-resistant cryptography, which it will be formulating with its quantum process and policy, and the blockchain part is already integrated in your finance and government sectors and will come on to blockchain as a process and a standard at the moment. The petrodollar and energy security. So over the past month, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia have highlighted, and there was some kind of false news saying that they'd come out of the agreement, but they've highlighted that they will be looking to move away from the US dollar, which has controlled the market, and there's a 70-year agreement or partial agreement in place in relation to utilising the dollar for the purchase of oil. So shift in the petrodollar system, and obviously then shift in energy security at the same time. So with energy diversification, as I was talking about the United Arab Emirates a while ago, they're the ones that are leading in solar energy products and developing green hydrogen. They're the ones that are developing green hydrogen capabilities at present, which will lead the future of energy supply and production, and are moving away from oil dependence and leveraging renewable energy investments as well. The United States, it's their dollar process that has placed a grip hold on the world at the moment, and obviously with that, any ally in it, i.e. any situation where the United States wants to control the markets, they will inflate or deflate at their given moment, which assists with their power control system, because then people have got to stay with the dollar, and by people, I mean countries. So they are promoting energy independence and significant renewable projects, but please bear in mind the oil is linked with the dollar. The Energy Policy Act is supporting its infrastructure movements, and despite it becoming a net energy exporter, the US benefits from the petrodollar system. Okay. Digital currency and financial systems. So central bank digital currency, which is where we are going at the moment with our financial systems and blockchain in finance. So you are smashing the way here in China at the moment with central bank digital currencies, transacting trillions in digital yen or renminbi, and expanding on your pilot programs as well. Your digital process is established. So unlike many other countries, you are leading the way in this. And if the world wants to move away from the dollar as the connective currency, which is what controls most markets and controls your supply chains, then the central bank digital currency has got to be meshed with other controlling currencies, which is why there are current agreements globally with, say, Latin America, certain countries in Latin America, the Middle East, Africa, and otherwise. It's to ensure that there is going to be a stable central bank digital currency process of which markets can then interact with each other. Okay, so everything becomes then interlinked. Brazil's down there because Brazil will be interlinked with China's central bank digital currency because it's already got direct credit swaps in there. Very important for your supply chain markets and a controlling factor as well. This is separated because this can have effect across your supply chains by sheer method of impersonation and scale, which is supported by artificial intelligence, which can generate and then run these programs quite easily. I was on the working group, the Interpol working group for synthetic media. It's recently had a paper published. You can go and look at that. This stuff is relatively scary in context because I've seen the power of it, and it's relatively easy to say deepfake Tony Lugg example. And then in person, there are synthetic processes for that as well. So leading the charge in synthetic media and its research and development within the artificial intelligence use of synthetic media and produce synthetic media is the United States. It's always had a bent to create footage out of California and Florida, etc. However, now it's leading the way in that research and development of that. It's saying that it's establishing quite comprehensive ethical standards, and people have tried to wrap ethical standards around this. However, once artificial intelligence becomes artificial intelligence, will it relate to the same ethical practices and standards as we do? Who knows? China is just under that and leading other countries in understanding how that artificial intelligence will come into play. Climate change and environmental risks. This is the biggest because we have very, very, very little control over future climatic change and environmental processes other than a defensive stance at present. So the various different climate action plans are trying to stem the tide, so to speak, and then the sustainability initiatives that then interrelate to what I was discussing earlier with the cyclic sustainability initiatives. We're seeing these as interlinked global trends at a geopolitical and then corporate and governmental level. So China, again, internally, not necessarily externally, has extensive climate action plans and significant investments in renewable energy and extensive reforestification. The renewable energy bit is global, and there is significant attempts with the Middle East to try and provide a renewable energy hotspot globally so that you can work both locally and regionally. The EU falls behind that, comprehensive climate policies and advancing the European Green Deal. So I have melded that together. Russia is close to the bottom with Iran or Persia, and the look at that is energy efficiency and renewable options, and national action plan on climate change, because that's what the country runs off, which is exportables from the energy and oil production industry. I haven't brought military industry into this. Predictions for 2025 to 2030. My scoring criteria, as I utilise with my boards, is economic stability, geopolitical stability, technological advancements, environmental security, and supply chain resilience as well. So on this here, I've also put on here out of region influence, because that's very important to see what some of the other countries are aligned to, and who has most impact across, either directly or indirectly, because of sanctions, because of investment, because they're against the country, or adversely want to have some influence upon the country. Okay, which is why out of region influence for China is the USA, because they have the biggest impact upon the relevance of what China are doing at the moment. But as you see here, regional stability, top, because you've got central governance, and that central governance ensures that you've got a pathway for the future and a continued pathway. That's very important for other jurisdictions to be able to co-join with you and to be able to have confidence is stability. When there's no stability, confidence lessens. The reason why the USA comes just below that is because of its global power at the moment, not necessarily its stability, because there will be an election in November that could provide some certain instability. And then the power dominance that goes over that. The reason why the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, and Antarctica and Arctic are in there is because they are going to play, certainly within the short term and definitely into the long term, a significant part of what occurs to supply chains and to geopolitics on this planet, because of the melting that's going to go on there, and also the routes that will be opening up, both supply chain wise and also militarily as well, and the rare earth minerals that will and are under these certain regions and within these jurisdictions. So likelihood scoring and future dominance within the next, by 2030, I predict that China will have dominance, certainly, by 2030. There's a lot occurring at the moment. There are unstable issues and matters that are occurring that do not affect the current strategic plan and way forward for China, who will push on. I predict that the United States will lessen in its dominance due to this unstable environment and situation that we're all in, and that militarily there will be incidents globally that will affect the United States more than China per se. The UAE, as you can see there, is certainly going to grow as a future dominant power, and India as well. India is most certainly going to be one of the future dominant powers in the world. Iran will stay where Iran stays, and Russia about the same. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to present to you today. It's great to see a country that has not just been on the rise, but has risen, and I predict will rise even further. And as you see by the comparative scores per country, as I placed on here, this has been done over ESG, AI and tech advancement, economic stability, civil conflicts, wars, sanctions, and the overall stability. And as you see by that, it gives some reflective countenance on the discussion that I've had with you here today. And thank you to Tony and the rest of TAPA for inviting me to this conference. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.